Liberty Rep gridlocks New Hampshire State House. New Hampshire State House Committee passes marijuana decrim 16-2. And what's the other headline? Law clarifying and further restricting official oppression. Basically a law that makes it harder to do official oppression in New Hampshire. All of these bills actually have, these two bills have passed committee today. Dan Itza was surprised, I think, that his bill passed. He was the sponsor of the official oppression bill, again, which just gives more teeth to fighting official oppression, which is the government refusing to prosecute its own bad guys. There was, of course, a hearing today on House Bill 1343, which would establish a commission to watch the feds, basically, and determine whether the feds' activities are constitutional in the state. I got the impression, or at least the folks who were at, I wasn't at the whole hearing, but the folks who were indicate that I don't know, one of them is right here, actually. Let's talk to someone who went through the whole hearing. And this is Craig, a recent mover to New Hampshire, a free stater who just made the move a few weeks ago and was kind enough to give me a ride for car trouble. What was your take on how things sounded in that hearing?
Well, I think they sounded somewhat optimistic. They were pretty much a divided committee. They were the proposal by Dan Itza was to review any federal law that might impact the sovereignty of New Hampshire and make a judgment upon it. And that he wants to set up a committee to do that. So we'll see how that turns out.
Good. And what was your initial take on things at the New Hampshire State House? You moved from Houston, correct?
I find it to be quite interesting that you can walk into the State House and start talking to the representatives that are there without any trouble or any issues whatsoever. They all seem to be very open and friendly and a very open type of assembly.
Good. Any other first thoughts about New Hampshire?
Oh, it's beautiful. This is beautiful, guys. Great state.
So you're glad you made the move?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's see if I can think of anything else to mention. Of course, I got a lot of video in there. This is just like a preliminary report to get you started with the basic headlines. But the more regarding the pro-liberty rep going nuts on the on the House. What happened was, I guess, it's Steve Valancourt in Manchester. He had submitted some sort of record to the state, and the state legislators, I guess some of the legislators at the top of the House didn't like what he wrote, so they edited what he wrote on the House record, even though that's supposed to be his spot. And so in protest, he took every single bill off the consent calendar, which means that instead of just having this one up-down type vote, they had to make a bunch of individual votes. It was kind of like a miniature filibuster, and of course it didn't gridlock the House for very long, but I think he got his point across, and I think he's been in the I think his story's been in the mainstream press, so nothing new there. The other little tiny tidbits of news you'll see coming up, I managed to talk to two of the most controversial anti-liberty reps in the House, Representatives Emma Rouse and I think it's Judy Day. These reps have been accused of trying to subvert the legislative process and just use bureaucratic rulings to regulate homeschoolers. So I talked to both of them about that, and you'll see these little ambush interviews and see how those worked out as soon as I get around to editing. But that's all I have that I can think of that's of any great interest from the New Hampshire State House today, February 11th, 2010. Dave Ridley signing off for RidleyReport.com.